Hi students, I'm going to go through your 3M encoder system and we are going to go into advanced coding. So with that I'm going to go into content. In content here you will see we have the 3M ahima.org and I'm in shared files. So once again, content, shared files. I'm going to go ahead and click on to the 3M ahima.org. Okay, so once I'm here, you are going to get username and password. I bypassed that because I've been in here a couple of times today. So let's go ahead and write down, I will put it in announcements also. The username is going to be MEI, all capital, 001. And then the password, as of right now, this could change, so I was looking announcements, AHIMA, AHIMA, all capital, pound 21. And that's going to bring you up to this page right here. So as we progress in this semester, we're going to be utilizing this page. So when you start coding medical records, we're going to have to be putting ages in. You're going to have to put admit and discharge date in. You're going to have to know what product we're using. Okay, here I'll just go ahead and do DRG Finder for now. And grouper, we're just going to stay with Medicare grouper. But as you progress, and once we get into CPT, and that will bring that into the other course, we'll utilize the APC Finder. So this 3M encoder has a lot of great value and so many different things to learn. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to hit continue, and as a coder, we're going to say everybody went home. They were in the hospital, they went home. Okay, so as a coder, you need to, let's say you want to figure out with a patient what their diagnosis code is. We're going to start from scratch. And I'm going to say congestive heart failure. Okay, so he takes me to failure. And then on that point, I am going to go to heart, which is number 6. And then I'm going to go to 7, congestive. We're just going to hit other unspecified, and I come up with my generic I50.9 heart failure. All right. So a couple of different things we can add another diagnosis. Let's say that this patient also had stenosis. Because this is my principal diagnosis. We'll say stenosis right here. We're going to say aortic valve. And we're just going to say it's going to be non-rheumatic. No procedures. So now I have my I35.0. If I hit continue, it's going to give me my 2 codes right here, heart failure. And we'll get into all this DRG in a couple of weeks. So I have I50.9 and I35.0. This, once again, is a little bit different way to find a code. Last year in basic coding, we utilized the red book. Okay, so with the electronic book, we get there the same way. If I type in failure, and I'm going to put in heart. With that, I'm going to see down here congestive. If I click on failure heart congestive, gives me that I50.9 code. And then remember, you always have to double check in your, we have our index. You always want to double check to make sure you don't need any other digits. So if I click onto I50.9, pulls it up here, and I am good to go. All right, I'm just going to put that down. So a couple of different things that I like about the tabular, that it's also going to tell us what else do we need to code. So we need to code, if it's I50.84 end stage heart failure, We also have to look at these codes if it's combined. We also have to look at our excludes note. Okay, so if with I-50.9, fluid overload is unrelated to congestive heart failure. Okay, so if I look at excludes 2, does that mean I code it or don't code it? Let's go find an excludes 1. All right, right heart failure, but not due to the left heart failure. Okay, that means I do code that also. So a couple of things, again, review those notes. And I am just going to show you a nice little thing here. The CC means coding clinic, and I'll show you where we find that. So if I double click on that and I want to know the rule, this is going to give me the rules on that, on the diagnosis code of I-50.41. So let's just go to 2018. This talks about hypertension with heart disease. And it goes through the different rules of myocardial infarction. It's great. Okay, we don't have that reference. All right, so we have those there. Again, you're going to use this part to look up your code, double check it, look it up in the index, double check it in the tabular. Remember the drugs. So once we get to the poisoning adverse effect, we're going to be utilizing the drug tab. External causes. Remember what happened. Did it take place at home? Was it an accident? Neoplasm. Okay, so we go to the neoplasm tab. And then our procedures. Was there any procedures done? In index, term search that. It's going to give you a good route. Let's just play around with this. Appendectomy, which is not going to make sense with my codes. But what's the difference between excision and resection? Remember, resection, they take the whole appendix out. That's what we're going to go with. We're going to say it's an open approach. And there we have our code. All right. So with that, now I kind of want to get into how we find those different references I was talking about. Here's some here, but let's go back to that beginning screen. Is right here. I'm just going to hit next patient. So when you log in, you're going to always see this, okay? You're going to have this yellow stack of books. That's what I'm going to go into right now. Okay, so with this, here's the book that I was just into, the red ICD-10 CMPCS code book. CPT book, I do like it, but to me, I find codes a lot quicker in the paper copy of the CPT book. But if I know what I'm doing and if I know I'm in surgery and I know that I am going to be in the maternity care and delivery section, so then, sometimes I can go through here quickly. It's going to be more, to be honest, for those who are more experienced to use a CPT online. Okay, so let's go back to our yellow books. A couple other things I want you to be aware of. So I had CPT or ICD-10 again. Coding clinic that I was talking about. This has great references. And with this, you can go by subject. Believe me, I use this a lot. So if I am looking for, let's just say, something with pulmonary edema, I'm going to hit P. Okay, so I may have to go down all the way to the P's. Keep scrolling, scrolling, scrolling. And we are right there. So pulmonary edema, I kind of want to know what's going on here, acute or cardiac right here. What can we code it with? What can we not code it with? Once again, this is a great reference. in ICD 10 coding this year, I will have you reference our um, assistant. Sorry. So, okay, so we talked about that. We also have CPT assistant. You have pharmacology drug reference. You have a medical dictionary you can utilize. And we also have different anatomy sites that you can go to. Okay. We'll talk about these later on. You don't need to know these right now. But hopefully this gives you a good background on the encoder. Like I said, we will go in more detail, but I think this is a good start. Let me know if anybody has any questions.